Hey, welcome to Plant It Where the Sun Don't Shine, a podcast for people looking for plant ideas that work well in shadier spots of the garden without relying on the much overused hosta. Do I hate hostas? No, not really, but I do like lots of other shade-loving plants and want to share some of them with you so you don't have to just rely on hostas when you're gardening in shadier locations. I'm Dr. Dennis. These are some of my favorites that you can plant where the sun don't shine. Welcome back to Plant It Where the Sun Don't Shine. I'm Dr. Dennis. I'm excited to talk to you about Bleeding Heart, a classic perennial for a shady garden. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Dennis, and I'm here to talk about Bleeding Heart today. Yeah, this is a classic perennial that many of you may already know. I love it. That's why I wanted to talk about it today. Many of you might not be as familiar with the previous plants that were highlighted in episodes 2 and 3. This one might be more common, but I still think it's really important to include on this podcast because it does so well in shady spots and it's so unique. So in the spring, so for me here in zone 6A, that's usually late April, maybe early May, but usually late April. It emerges as a clump of dark red or burgundy shoots that stretch out from the soil as arching stems, off of which hang these really cool, really unique shaped flowers. The outside of which are dark pink or red, and as if it was a heart hanging from the stem that is split open, a white, I believe it's called the pistil of the flower, that is hanging down from that red pink shaped, heart shaped flower. Really unique multi-lobed leaves as well, which is another reason why I love it because it provides an interesting contrast to many other leaf types in a shady garden. So has these cool flowers, interesting shaped leaves, and the stems, even though it holds up quite a structure in terms of the plant overall, the stems are hollow. So if you happen to cut one or break one off, you can see that they're a hollow stem. It grows probably about 2.5 feet tall by about 2 feet wide. It kind of depends on the conditions that you have it in, but I would say, yeah, 2.5 to 3 feet tall. It is hardy zones 3 through 8. For me in 6A, does really, really well. If you have it in a consistently moist, full shade location, it will probably do its best for you. If you put it into a sunnier location, like part shade or part sun, and or you let it dry out on an extended basis, it doesn't have to stay moist all the time, but it does need moisture. If you let it dry out consistently and for a prolonged period of times, it will likely become ephemeral. So that idea that before the season is actually over, it will yellow and die back to the ground before it would naturally do so if it was in its best conditions. Really, really cool plant that I think deserves folks' attention. It's from Northeast Asia and it is in the poppy family. So it produces very, very tiny seeds and will sow itself in your garden. Those young seedlings are very easy to edit out of your garden or weed away. They're not difficult at all. I wouldn't consider it in any way invasive, but those really, really tiny seeds do get around. Um, so another interesting thing to note about bleeding heart is its Latin name. So it is now known as Lamprocapnos spectabilis. It has previously been known as Dicentra spectabilis. I know it as the latter. I just recently purchased it, and this is 2024, and it was still labeled on the package as Dicentra spectabilis. So all that to say, even though the name has changed, it's still commonly being referred to by either and or both of those Latin names. Uh, Commonly, I know it as bleeding heart, but other folks know it by other names, one of which is lady in the bath. But then there are other common names in English that it gets referred to as well. A friend of mine used to call it Tibetan funeral flower. And that I understand is accurate in that it comes from Northeast Asia and it is associated with funerals in that region. And the friend that I know that used that name for it did so in a disparaging way. He was not a fan. So yeah, it has a lot of different names. And if you're looking for, yeah, more information about the common names we allocate to perennials in our gardens, I would point you to Alan Armitage's 2017 book called Of Naked Ladies and Forget-Me-Nots, which dives into different common English names associated with plants. So it is, as I said, from Northeast Asia, but it is related to a bunch of other plants from other areas, including from North America. So there is Dicentra exima and Dicentra cucullaria, which are North American natives. One of which, I think it's the first one, is commonly known as Dutchman's breeches or bear's breeches. These ones are North American natives that you can go out and find in sort of forested areas in zones 3 to 8. There is also the Dicentra canadensis and Dicentra formosa. So yeah, just to sort of note that this group of plants is quite large, to which bleeding heart is known to be part of. Yeah, I guess I really just wanted folks to keep this one in mind when you're doing your gardening in shady locations, because it is adaptable across many zones and different soil types and moisture levels. Like I said, does its best in a full shade location. I kind of almost consider it like a shrub in that it is such a substantial plant, although it does die down to the ground every year. But when it's in its glory, it's this substantial plant with really cool flowers that the pollinators enjoy, and it's fun to watch them trying to get into the shape of the flower, and does provide this cool contrast to many others that you might already have in your garden. So I would encourage you to consider bleeding heart when you get out there and plant it where the sun don't shine. You can take a look at some of the photos that I've posted of bleeding heart on the Instagram account associated with this podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks also goes to Sherry Donegan, Jonathan Scott, and of course, Ian Jefferson for brainstorming podcast name ideas with me. Credit goes to Sherry on that one. If you have thoughts or ideas you'd like to share, please email me at plantitwherethesundon'tshine@gmail.com. That's one word without the apostrophe. You can also follow the show on Instagram at Plant It Where the Sun Don't Shine with Dr. Dennis. Hosting is provided by Spotify for podcasters. Until next time, thanks for listening. Go plant it where the sun don't shine.